Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Richard III, and today we get to hear from Lady Anne in Act 4, Scene 1. Now, if you remember, Lady Anne from the very beginning of the play was the only person mourning the death of Henry VI, and in that funeral, Richard wooed her, and they actually ended up getting married. So at this point, she's the Duchess of Gloucester. So that's who Lady Anne is. And other things that have happened prior to getting to this scene, Richard has begrudgingly said that he will take the throne, and he's supposed to be coronated tomorrow, which is actually today by the time we get to this scene. So in this particular scene, and he's doing that because he said that the children of King Edward, who just recently died, are illegitimate children. So in this scene, we have the Duchess of York, who is Richard's mother, and also King Edward's mother and Clarence's mother, and Queen Elizabeth, who is the widow of Henry VI, and we have Lady Anne, and they're all together. They're going to the Tower because Edward is supposed to be getting coronated today, and they want to go see him, and they're like, let's go talk to the young princes before Edward is coronated. But Brakenberry stops them and says, you're not allowed to see them. And they're like, but we're family. We're supposed to, of course we can go see him. Who said we can't see him? And Brakenberry's like, the king. And they're like, what? And he's like, no, I mean the Lord Protector. And they're like, this doesn't bode well. And then Lord Stanley comes in and says to Anne, you need to come with me right now because we have to get you over to the coronation so that you can be crowned Richard's queen. And all of the women are like, oh my goodness. Oh, and also Dorset is there, who is one of Elizabeth's children from a previous marriage. But all of them are like, oh my goodness, this is the worst. This is the worst possible news that Richard is becoming king. And how did this happen? And Lady Anne is like, please, please let me die before anybody ever calls me queen. And I believe it's Queen Elizabeth is like, well, why would you say that? Please don't wish any harm on yourself. And Lady Anne says, no. Why? When he that is my husband now came to me, as I followed Henry's course, when scarce the blood was well washed from his hands, which issued from my other angel husband, and that dear saint which then I weeping followed. Oh, when I say I looked on Richard's face, this was my wish. Be thou, quoth I, accursed for making me so young, so old a widow. And when thou weddest, let sorrow haunt thy bed, and be thy wife, if any be so mad, more miserable by the life of thee than thou hast made me by my dear Lord's death. Lo, ere I can repeat this curse again, within so small a time, my woman's heart grossly grew captive to his honey words, and proved the subject of mine own soul's curse, which hitherto hath held mine eyes from rest. For never yet 1 hour in his bed did I enjoy the golden dew of sleep, but with his timorous dreams was still awaked. Besides, he hates me for my father Warwick, and will, no doubt, shortly be rid of me. So she's recalling here in a fashion similar to the other people who have been killed, Rivers and Grey and Vaughan, when they were killed, and also when Hastings was killed, they all looked back on the curse that Margaret spewed forth on all of them and said, oh, we should have seen this coming. Lady Anne is now recalling her own curse, because in that scene at the beginning of the play, when Richard is trying to woo her and she's trying to mourn King Henry VI, she cursed him and his future wife and any future children that future wife might have. And now she's like, this was so dumb of me because I'm the wife that I cursed myself. And she's like, I wished that wife would never find peace and she would be made horribly miserable and that she wouldn't be able to sleep and all these sorts of things. And she's like, and I haven't slept. I haven't slept at all, more than an hour since I married Richard. And he doesn't like my lineage. He doesn't like my father. So at this point, now that he's becoming king, he's probably just going to kill me. And the others in the scene, Elizabeth and Dorset and the Duchess of York, are all like, oh, so sorry for you, and this is a really horrible situation, and all that sort of a thing. But they decide that Dorset should leave and run away and go find Richmond, because, also hearkening back to the Henrys, remember in the Henrys we had the War of the Roses going on. We had the Yorks versus the Lancasters, and these are the Yorks. Richard is on the Lancastrian side, and if the Lancasters had been winning the War of the Roses at this point, Richmond would have been next in line for the throne on that side of the battle. So they're like, go get Richmond, team up with Richmond, because we hear he's building an army. You go do that, and we'll all go kind of scatter ourselves and try to stay safe. And Anne, I'm so sorry, you have to go get coronated. And she goes to get coronated, and everybody tries to, put on a happy, brave face, but there isn't a lot of happy braveness going around at this point, except maybe on the part of Richard. He's I don't know if it's brave, but he's definitely happy at this point in the play. So anyway, that's Act 4, Scene 1. And yeah, we'll dig a little further into Act 4 tomorrow, and we'll find out how many more of these curses actually turn out to be real curses and that sort of thing. And it's interesting to bring in Richmond now, because we haven't seen him at all in the play previously, and we don't actually physically see him on stage until Act 5, but it's good to bring in this element of there might be somebody prepared to take Richard down. So what do you think? Is he going to succeed? Is he going to fail? Does this come back to the whole Yorks versus Lancasters thing? Of course it does. Who's going to win? If you know your history, you know. Or if you know the plays, you know. But if you don't know, come on back tomorrow and we'll learn more. I'll see you then. Mwah.